Ugh. Hey, Smira, how are you?
I'm good.
Where you headed?
Back to North Carolina,
Oh, from where?
Florida, checking in on my folks for the last couple days.
Oh, wow, that's a good long drive, huh?
Yeah, about 7 hours.
Oh, that's not as bad as I would have thought. I thought it'd be more than that.
Yeah, no, they're North Florida. It's not terrible.
Okay. Is that where you're from?
Yeah, I've been
Oh,
in
okay.
North Carolina for 11 years, but basically spent my early life here.
I got you. How's things going with your operation, with the business?
Going all right. Going all right. I got a couple of new accounts and an interesting development in another that normally only orders once in a while, but they've placed a second order in February, which is unique. So I hope that's a new normal.
Oh, I hope so too. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
All
And I
right.
got a shout out from App Standards. So that was super exciting.
Oh, wow.
They've,
Did that,
they've never,
did you see an
what was that?
increase in sales? Did you see an increase in
No,
sales?
I haven't yet, but it was one shout out telling their constituents that the elderberry gummies go live on Wednesday, and then they tagged me in that post. So I'm really hopeful that on Wednesday I get some chatter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. That's a wild operation, isn't it? Do you know those folks?
I do. I do. I don't know them very well, but they were early adopters and for my product, and we've had a great relationship. So yeah,
If you think about it, if it's something you can do, I would love to have either the mom or the daughter be a guest speaker on our class and just talk about their experiences.
oh sure, I'll ask.
Yeah, and you could say that it'd be, quote, sponsored by you so that you get a
Yeah,
plug. Maybe that would make them more inclined to do it. But, if you tell them we basically need 30 minutes by Zoom to small businesses, that would be great if one of them would be willing to do it.
I would definitely be happy to ask.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. And one of the things I'd love for them to do is talk about the actual how they go live. I think a lot of
Oh
people
yeah,
would like to know, well, how the hell do you do this? And
yeah,
if they're willing to share that, it's not, we don't have any really competitors to them, I don't think. So
yeah.
anyway, that'd be great.
Happy to. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Kyle, how are you?
I'm doing well, Dennis. Hey, I appreciate the Super Bowl ad. That was great. I did. I stole it and throwed it in there several places. So, yeah, I
Well, that
thought
was
that was really really cool.
well, I stole it from 1 in 6 potato
Okay.
chips. They
Yeah.
they put that out with a bag of their potato chips, and I just got rid of their potato chips and put your packages instead. That's really all I did. And I just thought it was kind of eye catching,
Yeah, no, it was cool. No, so not only can we hijack the news, we hijack everybody else's advertisement as well.
Absolutely. Well, the new rule is right. If you adapt it,
Yep,
then it isn't necessarily the same thing. So
exactly. No, that is. Hey, well, they should be flattered if we thought enough of them that we would utilize that, right?
yeah, I haven't heard from them, so they probably didn't notice or didn't recognize. But
No, they didn't notice. They did.
yeah, that's I think that's just clip art. I don't think it was anything fancy that anybody
Yeah.
did, but I could be wrong. Yeah. Okay, well, I know we're a little short here. I think some other folks will hopefully join us, but I think I'll get started just in the interest of time. Today we're going to talk about really 21 ways to fail, or 21 ways to blow up your company. It's kind of a unique way to put it, but it's kind of trying to give advice in a different format, I guess, than you would normally expect. So let's give it a try and see what we think. Okay, here we go.
So when I first gave this talk, it was called 12 Ways to Blow Up Your Company. And then for those of you who don't know me, you're probably getting to know that I like to have fun and life's too short to be boring. So I later called it 14 or 15 ways to fuck up your company, because after you guys innovated a few more ways to fuck things up, I got frustrated. Then it became 18 ways to fuck up your company, and then the dean at the CU Law School informed me that I wasn't allowed to use the word fuck at the law school as much as I do. Not ever, but just not as much. So now it's back to 20 ways you can blow up your startup, but as of today, it's 21. There are some things I'm going to tell you that are not fixable. So there are several of these mistakes that if you make them, it might be game over for your company. There are a lot of these that some are fixable, but all of these are really painful. And all of these things will blow up your company if you have committed them. As with every year, some of you have committed some of these already. As with every year, some of you have committed the ones that can't be fixed. With that being said, with no further ado, drum roll please. First thing you can do to screw up your company is pick a bad idea. Now, all of you are like, well, duh, that one's pretty easy. Well, stick with me for a second. Picking a bad idea isn't picking a bad idea. What's the name of your company again? The health? Orderly Health. Orderly Health. So, sounds like a good idea. I mean, it was good enough to get into Techstars, right? But if you're not super passionate about it, like you have to solve this thing, or you're in it for the money, or because you couldn't get a job and you happen to get into Techstars, it's already game over. And I'm surprised at how many entrepreneurs create companies and come up with ideas for the wrong reasons. If you're there, it's already game over. I can't help you. Hopefully it's not. If nothing else, use this as a filter if you decide to bring on another co-founder or other partners, that they're here because they cannot sleep until they fix this problem. They're not here for the paycheck. If you don't know your business model, you're sunk, which probably should just send a shiver down all of your spines going, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. It's all right, but always have an opinion. It's okay to have an opinion in your business model and know it's wrong. But there's so many startups that don't even have an opinion. The answer is advertising. Wrong. Like, wrong. If your business model is advertising, please leave the room now. Because it doesn't matter until you've reached such scale and none of you are there. So you're dead. Have an opinion. It will change. They always do, but always have a way to make money. The idea of we're just going to acquire a lot of users and we're going to figure it out later, it's a pretty dangerous strategy. See Twitter. Yeah, right? That's really, really tough. This next one's a disease, and this one's not having defined goals and not knowing how to define success and not holding yourselves accountable. This is a disease that if your company gets, it's really hard to get out of. There's also no pill for this yet. At this point in your company's life cycle, I would have goals every week of what you're trying to do. Every week. I'd write them somewhere. This is what we're going to get done this week. And then every Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, whenever your week ends, you sit and you look at the goals and you say, which ones do we get done? If you got them all done, awesome. Next week, let's push a little harder. You got some of them done. Why didn't you get some done? Was it out of your control? Did you get lazy? And I don't mean lazy, you didn't work hard enough, but did you get lazy and just not keep yourself focused? Did something happen that changed the goal and it should have changed and you you did the right thing. You got to look back. Some of these teams that I see that start off, you just run, and you don't ever like stop and look around and say, hey, how are we doing? I mean, there's a natural endpoint here at demo day to do that, but I think you need to do it literally on a weekly or bi-weekly basis and hold yourselves accountable. If people in your team aren't getting the job done, you got to hold them accountable. If you're not getting the job done, you got to hold yourself accountable. Maybe it means you need to change your goal, change your idea, but find out why you're not being successful. And that doesn't mean every week make excuses. This means every week set reasonable goals and hit them. You also must continue to test your hypotheses. Everyone in this room has some hypotheses about why they've created something cool and innovative. You figured out, hey, wait a minute, there's a bust in the market. I'm going to fix it. All of you guys are trying to fix something that's broken. Those are all based on a certain set of hypotheses. Those core hypotheses, you need to stress test all the time. Make sure that something hasn't changed in the market or in competitor or something that has changed everything. Most of you won't have this problem because of what you're doing, but there's companies, I mean, for instance, the drone company, goodness gracious, some ornery regulator wakes up one day, your whole company's dead. Of course, so is mine 3DR, but hey, we can drink beer and cry together. Think about how things are going. Be on top. I assume you're part of the Drone Foundation or at least know about them. If you don't, let me introduce you and make sure that you guys get in there so you can see what the latest, greatest things that the country's saying about drones. But make sure you're always testing your hypotheses. Similarly, screwing up your IP, your intellectual property, this is a huge one. Don't go blabbing people the secrets of your intellectual property. Be careful who you talk to. I hate to say it, but we've had a team here who went to a bar here in Boulder and started talking about their idea, and the person at the bar went home and filed a patent the next day on it. Oh shit. Be really, really freaking careful. Now this doesn't mean walk around with a little bitty NDA saying, yeah, would you have a beer with me? Here's an NDA. Not cool, not cool. That screams loser. But be careful. Not everybody has their heart in the right place. Be very careful of reputation and constraints of who you're dealing with. In other words, if you're talking to somebody new, figure out why their reputation to them matters enough that they will not screw you over. I.e., this is a Techstars mentor. If they screw me, Techstars will throw them out of the program. Yeah, that seems like that they'll probably behave correctly, right? The question I get asked the most by entrepreneurs is, Jason, I don't want to talk to VCs because I'm scared you're going to steal take my idea and steal it and start your own company. For me, my constraints for my reputation are I'm more constrained than somebody who nobody knows, right? If I do something wrong, it's front page news. Make sure that the people you're dealing with have similar constraints that they're going to behave correctly. If you don't understand your competition, you're also hosed. I'm trying to think here. Well, let's use an example. Does everybody know what Farmville was on Facebook? The game that you make like farm plants and stuff or whatever they do on farms, animals? I don't know. Never been to a farm. I'm from downtown Detroit. Everybody know what Farmville is? Okay, who wants to tell me who the competitors are to Farmville? Sleep, correct? Next. Playing volleyball, drinking by yourself alone in the basement. Not that I'm judging anyone. Any way to waste time. That's your competition. The single weakest part of every pitch that I see is competitive analysis. Now, what's interesting is whenever I see an entrepreneur come and pitch me, and I know more about their business than them, that is so unsexy. So unsexy, because I want to fall in love with you, right? I want you guys to come in, I want you to wow me, I want to be like, oh my gosh, this person's incredible, and their idea is great, let's get married, right? That's I always say like, judging, people always ask me, how do you judge a company? I'm like, I want to fall in love. It's just same energy as a first date, except I don't want to sleep with you, right? It's that important. And if you come in and I know more about your company than you, total turn off. Know about your competition, take a big picture look at it. Next up, not staying on top of your PR, internet, and customer reviews. It's incredible to me how many companies don't pay attention to their Amazon reviews who sell a piece of hardware, how they're not paying attention to what's being said of them in the press. You got to you got to pay attention to this stuff, folks. You've got to respond to the angry mobs of the internet if they decide they want to come lynch you. You got to be ahead of it, not behind it. Furthermore, a lot of you are going to make the mistake. You're going to go out to the press too early. It's really easy to get tech. These guys all think, wow, if I'm in TechCrunch, it's great and it's cool because you put it on your Facebook and your mom says, oh my God, how proud I am. Sally's done such a great job. And then like her bridge partners say, oh my God, I remember when she was just 2 and she used to lick dogs, and it's like perfect, right? It's really freaking easy to get in TechCrunch or any media place once. Come on, newspaper people want to write about something new. It's almost impossible to get the second one. So think about when you want to pull that trigger. You may want to go later than sooner, yeah. I mean, what type of activities would I do from a PR standpoint if I'm pre-product? Exactly. I would do nothing. Nothing. I always tell companies, shut the hell up until you have something to sell. Now, you can do pre-orders. Most pre-orders are total failures. You get some like our company Glowforge that just raised $29 million in 30 days, and you're like, thank God we got a hit. But we also didn't go out there till we knew we were a few months away from shipping. I forget what the statistics are. They change all the time, but it's something like 80% of the hardware stuff on Kickstarter never even ships, right? You just wasted all this goodwill and PR and you weren't ready. If you pick a bad first 2, 3, 4 employees, it's also game over. Now, the first couple employees we all know, or you should know, are going to set the culture of your company. Doing culture enemas or culture implants has not been invented yet in the United States or the world, as far as I know. So once you have a culture, it's like a prize on the Wheel of Fortune. It's yours to keep. You may be asking yourself, how do I hire a good employee if I have no money? I've got my Star Power note. I haven't raised much money. How do I hire great people? I'm competing against all these other great startups. You know what? As a venture capitalist, if you're not able to attract awesome employees right off the bat, and you say, well, I don't have money, it's not my fault, my answer is bullshit. The first employees don't join because of the money. They believe in you. They believe in your idea. They want to solve this as badly as you do. And if they don't have that passion, you're in a lot of trouble. And if you can't recruit and inspire people to join you, you're never going to have a great company. So it is a tremendous red flag if I look at the first few employees and I'm like, ugh, these aren't that good. As a sort of corollary, beware of the high-performing asshole. We all know these people, right? The person who's awesome at what they do, but you hate them. We all know them. It's like, if those of you who know anything about Greek mythology, it's like the siren on the rocks saying, come hither, come hither. And the next thing you know, your boat is washed up on the shore. These people are never the right people to hire. Never hire the high-performing asshole. Moving on to, this is sort of, we'll go to the cost side. If you staff up too quickly and hire ahead of revenue, you're also dead. The number one job of a CEO is what?
Get money in the door.
You say get money in the door. What else? There we go. The number one job of the CEO is not to run out of money. Because what happens when you run out of money?
You're dead.
You're dead. Well, you don't, I mean, not in this country. Maybe in like Russia, probably run out of money, you're dead. No, seriously, what happens when you run out of money? Everybody loses their jobs. All those people you hired, shitty as you feel, guess what? Those people all have to go home and tell their spouses and kids they don't have jobs anymore. And guess what? That's your fault. So don't run out of money. That's your number one job. But part of this is people who hire too quickly. They staff up too quickly. They do expenses too quickly. And it happens all the time. The one that we see a lot is the CEO who's having trouble selling their blah, whether that's software or a widget or whatever. And so what do? Since they're having trouble selling it, you go hire a
Sales.
Yeah, and how does that work? It doesn't. If the CEO and the founders cannot sell the product, there is no salesperson in the world. So if I was a founder and I said, hey, I got this great product, and you say, great, have you had any luck selling it? And I say, no. Red flag?
Totally.
Move on to another company?
Yep.
Thank you. Yep. So the corollary is the salesperson you can hire when you can't sell anything sucks. It's not you. Don't hire. That's just one example of staffing up too quickly. All right, this is one of my favorite ones. Not firing people quickly enough. This is a huge problem. Some of you already in this room probably should be fired. Statistics prove there's at least 1 or 2 or 3 of you that your co-founder already wants you fired. No co-founder or CEO has ever said, damn it, I wish I hadn't fired John so soon. That has never been said. The other thing that's never been said is, damn, I wish I hadn't broken up with my girlfriend too soon. Also has never been said. I always tell people, if there's anything you remember about this point, is once you fall out of love, you never fall back in. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. If you fall out of love with someone in your company, you must break up with them. Next up, not paying attention to people's incentives. Now, this is a massive one in the what I'll call the black box world of venture capital. I'm going to give you a hypothetical. You got to pick the answer. Hypothetical: you're raising $1 million. You can raise $800,000 from your favorite VC and $200,000 from friends and family, or you can raise a third of it from your favorite VC and 2/3 of it from 2 other VCs who are really well regarded and awesome. What's in terms of the same, valuations the same, what's the better deal?
Second.
The second. Who said the second? Why?
Because all the VCs had the same interests and alignment on that investment.
Somebody tell me why he's 180 degrees off. I'm going to read this again. Not paying attention to other people's incentives. You're all internalizing it. You're all selfish bastards. What are my incentives? So if I've got 800,000, I have more money in. So my bosses, my investors, are going to be like, hey, that's a lot more than $300,000. Are you paying attention to this? Second, if there's 3, who plays doubles tennis? Anybody ever play doubles? Anybody watch doubles? Come on. Well, you guys, God, you guys are wimps. It's not like I asked you what's your social security number or if you'd like to go out with me tonight. I fucking asked you if you're playing tennis. And you're like, ugh. Tennis, doubles tennis. What happens when the ball goes right down the middle line?
You both go for it.
Or you both look at it. But either way, bad outcome. When you've got 3 VCs on the board, what happens? Probably, look, we're all busy. Shit, if I can freeload off those 2 guys, awesome. You get total apathetic. Nobody owns it, right? You want to have a lead investor. That's called paying attention to my incentives. Now, you did mention something that was the wrong answer for the question, but something you said it depends where a VC is in their life cycle. If I'm a first-year, if I've just raised Foundry Group 2016, you be invested with Foundry Group 2016 or Bullet Time Ventures 2012. Just based on the years, which fund might be more appealing to you? 2016, why?
Because you have more time to get to your.
Because I just raised the fund. My investors aren't expecting money back for 10 years. And the clock hasn't started ticking for me. What about 2012? Anybody know the clock's ticking. Anybody know how long a venture fund lasts? 10 years. There you go. I need to have an exit. If I'm a 2012 fund, I need an exit quick. And the list keeps going. What are the incentives of VCs now that the markets are cratering? Well, how does that affect you? Well, let's see. We know that the top of the market, all the unicorns are dying. So that means all those VCs are taking a bath, which means they're going to just run out of the market and say, oh my God, we're scared. So that means the VCs that do the stage below them, they've got nobody to fund their companies. So if they don't have enough money to fund their companies, all those companies are going to die. And how it starts feeding through the system. How long does it take to hit early stage venture capitalist? It hasn't hit us yet. Probably will. But what are the incentives? Maybe that means I can drive a harder bargain for you on valuation. Maybe it means you should raise more money to try to weather the storm. Think about these things. But the point is, when I said, it was very interesting, when I said focus on other people's incentives, y'all went introspective and said, what's up for us? That's okay. But no, you got to pay attention to other people's incentives. They're just as important as yours. All right, couple lawyer ones, because I used to be a lawyer. Don't hold it against me. I was young and I needed the money. Screwing up your cap table or who owns your equity of your company. Ooh boy, this is a big one. How do you screw this up? You send over an email saying, hey, for joining my company, I'll give you 5% of the company. You do napkin arrangements. You fire a founder and you don't get them to sign a waiver or a release saying that, hey, it's all good that you're kicking me out here, but here's my release. And by the way, I'm reaffirming how much of the company I own. These things are really, really hard to do. What if you priced your angel round too high? Say you bilked some Boulder angel and had a 20 million post-money valuation. Well, congratulations to you. You're never raising money again because I'm never going to fund a company with that high of a valuation. Be really careful on your cap table. Be careful who you give equity to. Make sure you've got vesting attached. These are things that are really, really hard to fix because people are going to get greedy and think that this is worth something, and they're going to try to keep what they have. Next up, you must be as strategic in your fundraising as you are in your business. Now, this is one that people screw up a lot. You work so hard at your business and you're so exhausted and you've gotten to the point where it's time to raise money that you've actually lost the energy or the will to be as strategic in fundraising as you are in your business. What does this mean? This means coming up with a form email and sending a form email to a whole bunch of VCs. This means not figuring out which VCs are right for you and going after the wrong ones. This means not thinking about every single communication and that you have one chance to make a first impression. There was a commercial. Remember, you only get one chance to make a first impression. It's like Listerine or something. Was that it? Okay. Keep that in mind. That is the truth. Be incredibly strategic. Like you should be, if it were me, I'd be creating a Google Doc now of who are potential VCs I might want to meet and why, and what is my entrance into them. And the entrance could be, Natty knows them. The entrance could be, my brother knows them. My entrance could be, I know he went to the University of Michigan and plays drums, and you know what? I went to Michigan State and played clarinet. Perfect. All right? By the way, last week I had the most strategic entrepreneur pitch I've ever seen. Guy sends me, I'm not shitting you, a video of him, and he's like, hello, Jason, my name is blah, and we're working on blah, and I'm listening, I'm like, huh. They're playing the Average White Band, Pick Up the Pieces in the background. I like that song. Wait a minute, I think that's my fucking band playing that song. Holy shit, he's using my band's music as the soundtrack to his pitch? Holy shit. And he was, and then he got to the end, and he said, and just in case you want to know what it would look like for us to work together, and he flashes a picture of me on stage playing guitar, and I do this stupid thing that my wife fucking hates. She calls it my beaker face because my face inverts, and I have white man's overbite. It's horrendous. Thank God I'm married because I'm pretty much undateable after people see me like that. And he mocks me and does the exact same face and dashes his head to the music, and that was his 90-second intro. You think that guy's getting a call back? Fuck yeah, that guy's getting a call back 100% of the goddamn time. That guy, and I asked him, I said, how many VCs are you reaching out to? He said 20. He said, I've identified 20. And I said, and you're doing this for all 20 of them? He says, well, not videos, but like, yeah, I've figured out at least an idea for all 20. I go, how many have you sent out? He said, about 15. I go, how many responses you've got? He said, 12. If I could promise you 12 of 15 responses for cold emails to VCs, would you take it? Yes. Guys, strategic. You can too. Be smart. Figure that you can do all the lawyer stuff later. This is a dangerous one. I'm broke. I don't want to hire a lawyer. Trust me, none of us want to hire lawyers. Apologies to the lawyers in the room. They're expensive. Well, I'll just figure this out later. I'll figure out the 83B stuff, the tax later, and all this stuff. Guess what? You can't actually do all that stuff later. There was a time where you could fix everything that you broke, but there are no longer, life is no longer that simple. Make sure you have a good lawyer from day one. By the way, who here has a good lawyer? I'll pick on you. You have a good lawyer?
We do.
Who is it?
Charlie Knight.
Okay, and why is Charlie Knight a good lawyer?
He's good for our stage.
How do you know? You ever been a lawyer?
How about what?
Have you ever been a lawyer before?
No.
So, how do you know Charlie's a good lawyer?
Just sort of the due diligence.
Who did the due diligence?
My partner.
How does she know? You ever been a lawyer, miss?
I actually sat with Mike Platt, and he told me that he was doing some good work for us.
Yeah. And how's Mike Platt a good lawyer? You ever been a lawyer? Who here's got a good dentist? Yeah, see, yeah. I only asked that because I've had 3 dental surgeries in the past 3 months, which is somewhat becoming evident that I don't have a good dentist. I don't know if I have a good dentist. I don't know if I have a good hip surgeon. I can walk, but I may have had a better result if I went to Julie. Probably not Julie, but maybe, you never know. I've heard she's good with knives. You know, you actually, I had to pick on you. You actually had a good answer. It was like Mike Platt is sort of a trusted resource. Everybody knows him in town. And if he says Charlie did a good job, that's probably good. And Mike is a lawyer. You got a referral from a lawyer that didn't have any incentive. Mike wasn't trying to get anything from you. And he said, yeah, Charlie's a good guy. Just keep in mind that like, finding a good lawyer isn't about like who you like. There's a lot of nice people out there who are really crappy lawyers. The boring one is pick bad advisors. That includes lawyers, accountants, mentors, advisors. You know what? Make sure that these people are, if you're paying them, they're getting, you know, you got to pay lawyers and accountants because you just do. But everybody else shouldn't be paid cash. Maybe a little bit of equity. If anybody else asks you for cash, they shouldn't. They're bad people. Make sure you align yourself with good people. Remember, your reputation is an extension of everybody you surround yourself with. So if I meet your lawyer and I think Charlie's a jackass, that reflects negatively on you. And he's not. I like him. He's a good lawyer, by the way, just so you know. Be arrogant. Now, anybody know how long the average U.S. marriage lasts? 5 years? Who's that cynical bastard? Next.
18 years.
7.8. It's probably why it's called the 7-year itch. Have you ever heard about the 7-year itch? Anybody know the average length of time that I spend with an entrepreneur that I invest in? 10. Ergo, I'm signing up for a relationship that lasts longer than the average U.S. marriage. If you're an asshole, or you're arrogant, or I don't think you can learn, I don't want anything to do with you either. Getting the Silicon Valley, and I'm going to pick on you, the Silicon Valley, getting the Silicon Valley hype tech crunch machine of my shit don't stink, I'm a startup god, is probably the most unattractive human being I can think of. If you want to have a real experience and start a real startup and actually do something good, don't be an asshole. Don't be an arrogant. Know what you don't know. Be willing to learn and partner with people. You're not always right. Nobody is. Next up, if you can't figure out what you can control and what you can't control, your brain will blow up. So in every startup, there is what I know, there's what I know that I don't know, and what I don't know that I don't know. You can really worry about the first two, and that's okay. Those can keep you up at night. I give you permission. That I'm going to worry about what I don't know that I don't know. You got to let that go away. You don't know what Google's going to do tomorrow. You don't know what Apple's going to do tomorrow. You don't know what your competitor's going to do tomorrow. You know what? That's okay. Like, control the things you can. Maybe dip your toe in the water and try to like hypothesize about what might come down later, but try not to just let the monkey brain happen where you're worried about everything. Just worry about what you can control and control it as much as you can. Being overly emotional instead of analytical. Now, I'm not saying be a robot, although we do invest in robots with the hope that one day we can replace you all and have the robots start the startups. We can just give them the ideas. I'm totally kidding. Come on. That being said, there are a lot of startup founders who are highly emotional. Some people may call them hypomanic. For those of you who have taken my class at CU, you know I love to talk about the hypomanic edge, which is a psychological study of what drives founders and what the personality type is for founders of startups, which you all are. Being an emotional, empathetic human being is wonderful. Wearing your heart on your sleeve with all of your employees and letting them ride your roller coaster that you will invariably ride as a founder is a dangerous thing. You got to be presidential. You got to be analytical. You got to be calm. You got to smooth over the rough patches for your team. If you want to come talk to, you know, the folks who run the program or your board or even your investors and complain about how bad life is and how you're completely out of gas, that's okay. That's cool. But let's not wear this on our sleeve, let everybody else see it because it's damaging to you and your fellow colleagues. Yeah. The question is, what's sort of the relationship between founders and the first employees, especially on an emotional level? It's usually very close. I know a few successful firms that eventually one day they start calling the first and second employee some sort of founder or telling, you know, it wouldn't be there without you. So you make the right hire and they last, you know, a while. But yeah, if people start feeling more like colleagues, not us and them between founders and first employees. Kind of along the scope of we were talking about pre-sales that don't follow through is don't overpromise and underdeliver. And I think most people take a wrong definition of this. They say, well, yeah, I always do what I say I'm going to do. No, I mean, you really got to say what you're going to do all the time to everyone. If you meet with a mentor and they give you great advice and you say you're going to follow up and you don't, you're dead to me. Dead to me. Now, if you don't tell me you're going to follow up and you don't follow up, that's fine. I don't care. I can use one less email. Always do what you're going to say you're doing. At the micro level, from mentors to promising employees to holding people accountable to telling the board what you're going to do and actually doing it, you have to deliver what you promise. So you know what? You're all enthusiastic. You're all founders. It's natural to have this over optimistic sort of look in the world. Don't fall into the trap, because you get one or two screw ups like that, and then people just start tuning out. We don't believe anything you're going to say. It's the same thing when negotiations. I always say I do a negotiations lecture sometimes here, and I always say, never make a threat you're not willing to back up, because as soon as you make a threat and you don't back it up, I know you're full of shit. This is the newest one. This was added last year. This is the sad one, but it's the harsh reality. So if there's only one you remember, I kind of want you to remember this one. Your personal life is no longer your personal life. You have one life. You don't have a work life. You don't have a personal life. You have life. As founders of tech companies, with today's scrutiny, media, backlash, politicization, national inquirization, whatever it is, whatever you do in your personal life will affect your company. If you do something bad enough to end up in a newspaper, I have to fire you. If you do something bad enough to piss off your employees, you lose your bully pulpit to lead. This is, you know, can you get away with a DUI? I don't know, maybe. But it's not like the old days. You are not anonymous. Everything you do will be held against you in the court of public opinion. And that is, you don't get a lawyer. You don't get to shut your mouth up. This isn't fucking Law and Order. You're screwed. So be sure that if you're going to do this, you're a startup founder 24/7. I remember when I went to law school, they told us that we were lawyers 24/7, 365, which means when I was a lawyer, if I got picked up for a DUI, I could lose my law license. If I didn't make child support payments, I could lose my law license. If I hit somebody in a bar, I could lose my law license. Well, congratulations, startup founders. You're just like a lawyer now in that respect.
Okay. I think that he threw a lot of stuff out there, and to me, some of the really important things were doing what you say you're going to do, particularly to anybody external, whether it's an employee, a supplier. You know, it really builds trust, and one of the things we talk about in building a brand is the purpose of building a brand. One of the purposes is to build trust. So your promises and your commitments, you really have to be serious about it. I think the other thing is that struck me anyway, was don't go cheap on the legal advice and accounting advice, particularly on accounting, in my view, depending on what kind of business you have and what your funding goals are. But having quality advisors is really, really critical when you get to a point where you're starting to register in the minds of customers and suppliers, et cetera. So having that quality can really make a difference. I've seen some situations where people have not had good advisors, and not necessarily just in a business context, but you know, and I had a situation with a really good friend who passed away a couple years ago, quite wealthy and successful, but he had terrible lawyers and accountants. He basically went cheap with them. And when he died, even though he had all kinds of legal agreements, buy, sell, you know, succession, all this kind of stuff, his partner ignored all the documents and said, sue me, not going to pay you any money to the wife. It was really a really bad situation for the wife. And she had no idea that, you know, all this stuff was even possible. She thought everything was just going to go like it did when he was alive, from her perspective. So I was able to help her by bringing in one of my really good friends who happens to be a major league attorney in DC from a major firm. And they showed up at a hearing with the whole team from this law firm in DC. and the case settled in 10 days because they had serious firepower. And now it costs a lot of money to have them do that, but the bad guys had no chance. They had no chance, and they knew it. They didn't even argue or fight. They just started signing checks. So having your team, your advisors, it really pays off. I've had good experience over the years. I've never had a situation where I've hired what I would consider a top level advisor and been disappointed. It may have cost me a lot of money. It may have been uncomfortable for me in some respects, but I've also had situations where having those kind of folks on my team ultimately made a huge difference when all was said and done. So that's some stuff to think about. Also, this particular guy that was talking happens to be a pretty well-known venture capital guy in the Silicon Valley area. So, he has a reputation. Obviously, he's pretty cocky and, opinionated. But at the same time, I think his advice is pretty good and pretty sound. Anybody want to comment on any of that that we're talking about here or that you saw in this? Sarah, what do you think?
Hey, Dennis. Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Yeah, I would definitely echo like not to be cheap with legal. I made that mistake and I used LegalZoom for a couple things. And now I'm going to be hiring an attorney in Raleigh. They're called Fourscore. So I'm excited to work with them, but it's definitely a tough pill to swallow to pay those hourly rates for some lawyers. But I would not recommend working with LegalZoom through anything important, like maybe filing an LLC. That's about it. I guess like one question and comment I had about what he said, like always following through with your promises. I guess one caveat to that is I find it's really difficult making projections. And, as we're pitching for like investment dollars and talking with, we're like pre-VC, but it's just really difficult, I think, like when we're talking to people about here's what we plan on doing this year and over the next 3 years, like it's not a promise. There's no way we can promise that. But I feel like it's kind of a setup to be asked for projections because they never come out as planned. I mean, sometimes it's better than we could have planned for, but I guess that's where I just have a hard time, because I always want to make our partners and investors happy and like make sure everyone's getting a great ROI. But I think that's one area that I get really stressed out about.
Well, my response to that is if you're able to predict the future, you should be raising a lot more money because
Yeah, right.
they know projections aren't a promise unless they're total morons. So I think your willingness to give some idea what you're trying to do is most helpful to an investor. And that's really what the projections do. I've been in meetings where the venture capital guy said, I think you're full of shit, Dennis, but I think that, you're crazy enough, you might be able to pull it off. So here's the money. So, I've seen it work, even though it's as far away from a promise as you can get, at least in my perspective. So I wouldn't sweat about that. It's really what are the norms of that business, and one of the norms of the investment business is dealing with projections. What a bigger problem is, and I'm an investor and have been in the past, is people don't know how to do projections, right? They don't have the proper training or tools, or they haven't hired somebody who knows what they're doing. Many of us know Tom Morse here in this class and in Greenville. He actually has a business where he will help you do projections, and trust me, he knows how to do them right. And gives you spreadsheets and tools that you can use to learn to do them yourself. So I think that's really the best thing you can do for the investor is have a credible process for doing projections, not just making stuff up. Actually do say, here's the thinking that's going into this and why we're looking at it this way. And if they take that as a promise, then I say, don't take any money from them because they're idiots.
Thanks, Dennis. Yeah. Just one other thing I wanted to comment on that he said was, I think never has anyone regretted firing someone or like breaking up with someone. I'm going to push back on that a little bit because I think one of our most important jobs as leaders and CEOs is to develop our emotional IQ. And I think we had a class about that. And I think sometimes we can make a mistake or almost make a mistake by letting someone go who maybe like rubs us the wrong way, or maybe we don't really like them that much, but they might actually be really good for our business and they might actually fill in some of the gaps because they're so different than we are. And so I think that to me is just kind of like take a closer look when we want to let someone go or maybe stop working with them. Like, is it personal? Is it something that we have to look at within ourselves? Or is it truly that, they're not good for our business and where we need to go?
Yeah. Well, I think again, it really comes down to, in my opinion, it comes down to the processes you put in place. If you have some sort of process for evaluating folks, employees or partners or suppliers, that process, hopefully is vetted and turns out to be useful, right? And you at some point, you have to kind of put these processes in place, because otherwise you'll do a circular process over and over and over, going back and revisiting, did I do that right? Did I think about it right? At some point, you just got to say, okay, here's the game plan, here's the process we're going to use, and that's how we're going to roll. That would be my reaction to that. Anyone else? Yeah, I want to show you guys something pretty cool. Just one thing here. You can see my background today is maybe a little bit different. I know I have lots of different backgrounds, but I wanted to show you something here, just to give you an idea of some stuff that's going on. So this is an AI generated image that is creating an image of crystals and a tree and so forth. And the person that's doing this is actually going to 3D print this and sell it as a product. So it's an example of this AI, text to AI or text to image AI that enables you to potentially create products that don't exist anywhere else except in your mind or through this process. So I thought it was pretty cool. I really like this this picture. I have one more, I think. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, that's another one, also generated by the AI. So I thought that was kind of cool that you had potentially a way to design products that maybe you didn't have before. So let me do that. Sorry, I'm not doing that right. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, that's all I have today. Anybody have anything else you need to discuss? Okay. Well, thank you all for tuning in today. Tomorrow,
Dennis, I'm rushing around packing. Might be going to Las Vegas last minute today.
Okay.
So I'm packing just in case. So if so, I'll have a conference tomorrow through Thursday.
Okay. Great. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
Don't gamble.
I won't.
One fun thing to do in Las Vegas, if they still have it, is they have any of you all ever played the card game War? Remember that when you were kids? It's a real simple game the kids play. They actually have Casino War, which is exactly the same. That's all it is. It's the game of war, and you can bet on it or spin the wheel or whatever. And it's actually kind of fun. It's low stakes, and if you know that game, then you might find that more interesting or less difficult than some of the other more advanced gambling games. So I don't even know if they still do that. That was many years ago that I played that, but I did beat my friend. So I ended up with $55 plus, and I walked away, and he goes, "What are you walking away for?" And I said, "I'm ahead. I've just beat Las Vegas. I'm going to keep it that way forever and ever." And he continued to end up losing like $1,000. So anyway,
That's how I am. I've gone and they've given me $20 to play on, and I sometimes give the $20 away or play on it. And if I lose it, I'm done.
yeah, that's the way to play it. The house never loses. That's what I learned.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, those that can make it, okay? Take care.
See you tomorrow.